Here is what nobody tells you about quiet people. They do not become dangerous because they suddenly become cruel. They become dangerous because one day, something inside them refuses to keep dying just to keep other people comfortable. Maybe you know that feeling. You stayed calm when someone disrespected you. You smiled when they interrupted you. You acted fine when they dismissed your pain, used your kindness, tested your patience, and treated your silence like proof that nothing was happening inside you. But something was happening. You were watching, you were remembering, you were feeling the shift in the room, the change in their tone, the pattern behind their apology, the disrespect hidden behind their humor. And because you did not react loudly, they assumed you did not understand. That is the mistake. Quiet people are not always weak. Sometimes they are regulating, sometimes they are studying, sometimes they are deciding whether your presence still deserves access to their peace. In this video, you will understand why too much disrespect can turn a quiet person into someone calm, detached, and impossible to control. And later, when we reach the shadow, you will see why your buried anger was not evil. It was information. If you have ever been the quiet one who was misunderstood, like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs to hear that silence is not always weakness. Because the real change begins when quiet pain becomes quiet authority. Number 1. They mistook your silence for weakness until you started watching everything. This is the first mistake people make with quiet souls. They think because you did not answer immediately, you had no answer. They think because you did not argue loudly, you had no boundary. They think because you swallowed the comment, ignored the tone, and walked away without drama, you did not understand what was happening. But you understood more than they realized. Disrespect often begins small. A little joke that feels like an insult. A request that ignores your limits. A look that says your feelings do not matter. A friend who keeps taking. A family member who keeps dismissing. A co-worker who keeps testing how far they can go before you finally react. And because you stay quiet, they become careless. That is where the pattern starts exposing itself. Quiet people often lose respect in the eyes of others before they ever lose power inside themselves. The outside world thinks silence means approval, but inside, something is recording. Something is comparing this moment to the last one. Something is noticing the repeated tone, the repeated excuse, the repeated way they act innocent after crossing a line. Susan Cain wrote about the quiet strength of introverts, and this is where that strength becomes sharp. Quiet people often process deeply. They do not always react fast, because they are reading the room beneath the room. You were not asleep. You were collecting the truth, and the person who thought you missed everything becomes uncomfortable when they realize you missed nothing. But watching is only the beginning. The next danger starts when the disrespect begins, replaying in your mind. Number 2. The mind replays disrespect because it is trying to protect you. Quiet people do not always explode outward. Sometimes they burn inward. That is the part most people never see. They see your calm face, your controlled voice, your quiet exit, and they think the moment is over. But inside, your mind may still be sitting in that room, replaying every word, every pause, every look, every small piece of disrespect that your body felt before your mouth could explain. You lie awake and hear the conversation again. You remember the tone. You remember the hidden insult. You remember the moment you wanted to speak, but chose peace instead. And then you ask yourself why it still bothers you so much. The wrong belief is that this means you are weak, obsessed, or too sensitive. But psychologically, the mind often replays pain because it is trying to protect you from being caught unprepared again. Anger rumination, as a psychological concept, is when the mind keeps returning to the disrespect, the humiliation, or the betrayal. Not always because you want revenge, sometimes because your nervous system is trying to understand where the danger entered. It is asking one quiet question: where did I abandon myself? That is why the replay hurts. It is not only about what they did, it is about the moment you swallowed your truth to preserve a peace that was already breaking you. But here is the hard truth: if that pain is never processed, it can turn into resentment, and resentment can poison the same soul that silence was trying to protect. Because the replay is not the final danger, the real danger begins when the buried part of you finally starts demanding respect. Number 3. The disrespect woke, the shadow you were taught to hide. The most misunderstood part of a quiet person is not their silence, it is their anger. Because quiet people are often trained to feel guilty for having anger at all. You may have been praised for being easy, patient, calm, forgiving, understanding, low maintenance. People liked the version of you that could absorb discomfort without making anyone face themselves. So you learned to hide the part of you that wanted to say no. You learned to smile while your body tightened. You learned to agree while your stomach sank. You learned to keep the peace while something deeper inside you was quietly losing respect for the life you were allowing. Carl Jung called the hidden part of the personality the shadow. It is not always evil. Sometimes the shadow is simply the part of you that was never allowed to be honest. The anger, the assertiveness, the refusal, the voice that says, "This is enough." That is why disrespect can awaken something dark, but also necessary. The wrong belief is that your anger makes you bad. But anger, when understood, can become a signal. It tells you where your dignity has been crossed. It tells you where your yes was forced. It tells you where your kindness became self-abandonment. If you are ready to stop being ashamed of the part of you that finally wants boundaries, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who keeps calling their self-respect anger. The shadow does not need to become revenge. It needs to become clarity. Number 4. The dangerous moment begins when you stop explaining yourself. Toxic people are not always afraid of your anger. Sometimes they are more afraid of your calm, because anger still gives them something to fight, twist, blame, and use against you. But calm distance gives them nothing. No performance, no desperate explanation, no emotional reaction they can turn into evidence that you are the problem. After too much disrespect, something changes in the quiet person. You stop writing long messages to explain your pain. You stop defending feelings they already understood but chose to ignore. You stop begging someone to value what they kept treating as optional. You stop trying to make your boundary sound gentle enough for someone who benefited from you having none. That is the moment your energy starts returning. Maybe they send a baiting message, and for once, you do not answer immediately. Maybe they twist the story, and for once, you do not rush to correct every lie. Maybe they act confused about why you changed, and for once, you let them sit with the discomfort of their own pattern. The wrong belief is that silence after disrespect is always punishment. But there is a difference between using silence to control someone and using distance to protect yourself. Stoicism understood this kind of power. Not the denial of pain, but the refusal to hand your mind to the person who disturbed it. Emotional regulation is not pretending nothing hurt. It is choosing not to bleed in front of someone who keeps sharpening the knife. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming unreachable to what once controlled you. And when they can no longer provoke the old version of you, they begin to fear the calm they once underestimated. Number 5. Toxic people panic when your peace no longer needs their permission. The people who disrespected your silence often become confused when that silence turns into distance. They were comfortable with the quiet version of you that stayed available, the version that listened, the version that forgave, the version that explained, understood, adjusted, softened, and gave them another chance before they ever had to change. But when you stop feeding that pattern, the room changes. Suddenly, they call you cold. Suddenly, you are acting different. Suddenly, you are selfish, arrogant, distant, hard to reach. Not because you became cruel, but because you stopped performing emotional labor for people who were using your patience as a place to hide. This is where toxic and emotionally immature people panic. They do not always miss you. Sometimes they miss the access. They miss the version of you that made their behavior easier to avoid. They miss being able to provoke you, drain you, and still expect you to come back with understanding in your hands. The wrong belief is that losing access to you means you failed to be loving. But the deeper truth is this: boundaries reveal the difference between people who respected your soul and people who only enjoyed your tolerance. Self-differentiation means you can care without being consumed. You can love without abandoning yourself. You can understand someone without giving them unlimited permission to keep hurting you. Robert Greene wrote about the power of saying less, and this is why it works. The less you reveal to people who misuse your emotions, the less they can use against you. Their panic is not proof you are cruel. It is proof the old arrangement protected them more than it protected you. But this new power still needs wisdom, because silence can become either bitterness or transformation. Number 6. Your quiet power is not revenge, it is the return of inner authority. Becoming dangerous after disrespect does not mean becoming destructive. It means becoming impossible to own. This is the part many people misunderstand. They think your power is in making them regret what they did. They think your transformation is about proving a point, making them suffer, or showing them what they lost. But that is still attachment. That still makes their reaction the center of your healing. Real quiet power begins when you no longer need their regret to validate your pain. You no longer chase the apology. You no longer reopen the door just to see if they finally understand. You no longer perform your suffering for someone who was comfortable causing it. You simply return to yourself. That is the shift from people-pleasing to self-respect, from emotional chaos to controlled presence, from suppressed pain to conscious boundaries. You stop asking, "How do I make them see me?" You start asking, "Why did I keep abandoning myself to be accepted by someone who kept disrespecting me?" Viktor Frankl used suffering as a doorway into meaning, not because suffering is good, but because the human being still has one sacred power left inside painful circumstances: the power to choose the response. That is where your inner authority returns. You did not become dangerous to hurt people. You became dangerous to the patterns that were hurting you. You became dangerous to disrespect, to manipulation, to false guilt, to the old version of you that kept saying yes while your soul was begging for no. The most powerful quiet person is not the one planning revenge. It is the one who becomes free without asking permission. And the final transformation is not a louder voice. It is a quieter soul with stronger doors. So, understand what really happened here. You were underestimated. Then you started watching. You were disrespected. Then, your mind started replaying the pattern. You buried your anger for so long that your own shadow had to rise and remind you that peace without dignity is not peace. And then something changed. You stopped explaining. You stopped begging to be understood. You stopped giving unlimited access to people who treated your patience like permission. That is why quiet people become dangerous after too much disrespect. Not because they want revenge, not because they become cruel, but because they finally stop confusing endurance with love, silence with weakness, and access with obligation. You were not broken for staying quiet, but now you are responsible for what your silence becomes. It can become bitterness, or it can become wisdom. It can become revenge fantasy, or it can become emotional sovereignty. It can become another cage, or it can become the door out. If this message gave language to something you carried alone, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who has been quiet for too long and needs to remember that self-respect is not coldness. Do not become dangerous because you want them to suffer. Become dangerous because you refuse to disappear inside your own life. Your silence is not empty now. It has standards.